This is CBC Here and Now.
We are excited to lift the travel ban and welcome recreational travelers to Newfoundland and Labrador.
This province is opening to Canada by Canada Day.
We'll tell you who can visit and who will still have to isolate.
It's going to be fairly quiet tomorrow weather-wise, but as we head towards the weekend, looks like some rain is on the way.
It's a small province, and it makes sense to have one faculty of nursing with two sites.
Is it time to combine the province's 3 nursing schools?
That's one of the recommendations from the Green Report, but it's one that's been made before.
Terry Roberts looks into that in about 25 minutes. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. We start tonight with the province's plan to reopen.
Yeah, the travel ban is about to be lifted by July 1st. If you are vaccinated, you can come for a visit now without isolating.
So how will this all work? There are 3 steps to this plan. Here and Now's Peter Cowan is here to break it down for us. So Peter, what are those steps?
Okay, there's lots of information, Carolyn, so let's try and break it down. Each step reduces the restrictions for people coming, and it also increases what you're able to do when you're in the province. The key thing to reaching each of these steps is going to be having enough people vaccinated and keeping COVID cases low. And the rules are going to be different if you're coming and you're vaccinated or you're not. So let's start with what happens between now and July 1st when we open up to travel. So from June 15th to July 1st, they're expanding outdoor gatherings to 150 people, and it means community fireworks, parades, things like that can happen, especially around Memorial and Canada Day. Outdoor personal gatherings can be 30 people, but indoors, you've got to stick with your steady 20. So that gets us ready for July 1st. As long as 75% of people have 1 dose of the vaccine, anyone who's fully vaccinated can come into the province without having to isolate at all. If you only have 1 dose, you either have to come with a recent negative test or you have to isolate until you get a negative test here. If you're not vaccinated, you can still come, but you're going to have to isolate for the full 14-day quarantine. Since kids under 12 can't be vaccinated, they'll follow the same rules as the adults they're traveling with. Since people will only be partially vaccinated, we will continue to see cases, says Dr. Janice Fitzgerald.
I understand that people are scared. Change is difficult. We've been used to low case counts and being able to control things and living our lives fairly freely. We know that vaccinations can help to reduce severe disease, so we may see some cases, but what we know right now about even 1 dose of vaccine is that it does appear to reduce the severity of disease.
Now, on July 1st, it won't just be travel restrictions that will ease. Outdoor gatherings will increase to 250 people. Indoor gatherings can be 200 people. Retail stores can open at full capacity. Restaurants, they're going to increase to 75% capacity. And if you're a bride or a groom who's looking at a wedding for the summer, one key change, dancing at weddings will be able to happen again.
I'm sure a lot of people are happy to hear this news. And Peter, that gets us to August and step 2, but what happens from there?
Okay, so step 2 is expected in August, around August 15th, and that's when 80% of the population, the eligible population, has 1 dose and 50% has 2 doses. So what's going to happen? Anyone with 1 or 2 doses will be able to come without having to isolate. If you're unvaccinated, you can shorten your isolation to about a week after you have a negative test. Outdoor gatherings are going to increase up to 500 people. Indoor gatherings will be 350, and restaurants can move to full capacity. Personal gatherings will be as big as you can fit within the space as long as there is still physical distancing, and that's because physical distancing and masking is still going to be required at this step. Now, step 3 will come as early as September 15th when 80% of the population that's eligible is fully vaccinated. So at that point, unvaccinated people will be able to leave isolation as soon as they get a negative test. Outdoor events will have no limits, so that's good news for things like the regatta being allowed to go ahead. Inside, they're not sure what limits might look like. It's going to depend a lot on what changes between now and then and the epidemiology across the country and here in this province. And it's the same for masks and physical distancing. They said today that as they get closer, they'll get a better sense of whether or not they'll be able to lift the order requiring those as well. So What would it take in order to not open on these dates? What would it take to have a setback? Well, first, of course, it's vaccination rates. They stressed today the importance of people getting not just their first doses, but their second doses. And in fact, they're going to be moving up that timeline. Right now, they were booking people for 16 weeks after their first shot. They're going to move that up to 8 weeks. More details coming later in the week on how exactly that will work. The important part is also what's happening with COVID cases elsewhere. For example, today Ontario announced 700 new cases, down a lot from its peak. Dr. Janice Fitzgerald says over the next month that number should keep going down.
Certainly we want to see a continued downward trend, and modeling indicates that all things continuing as they are, that will be the case. So we'll be watching very closely as Ontario, Alberta start to reopen, and but you know, they all have very robust plans in place as well.
Now, what about people who may want to come and visit from overseas? Well, they said today that that's going to be up to the federal government, and those talks are still underway. Another question, what will you need to prove that you're vaccinated? Well, that's something I'll chat with the health minister about. That's coming up a little later in the show.
All right, thank you, Peter. That's Peter Cowan live in our newsroom. Well, some reaction now. St. John's Mayor Danny Breen welcomes the reopening plan. He believes the plan is safe, and he says the downtown pedestrian mall is slated to open on July 2nd, and that the increased traffic and capacity will be great for businesses downtown.
I think it's a very good plan. I think it takes into account all the steps that need to be to do this in a safe manner. We've had a good experience here. We followed the advice of the Chief Medical Officer of Health in the province, and we've come this far. So it's good. People are excited, I think, about seeing that there's a plan in place where we can continue the reopening, and our businesses are going to be very pleased, I think, with this plan.
Well, as we get details of the reopening plan, we're also learning of more cases of COVID-19 in the province. There are 17 new cases today. There are 12 in the western region. 8 of those are close contacts to known cases, but 3 are contacts not related to the outbreak in the region. The other one is under investigation. The central region has 4 new cases. 3 of those are related to the current cluster in the area, and the other is travel related. There is also 1 new case in the Eastern Health region.
Well, thunderstorms I was talking about yesterday developed a couple of hours ago. We even saw some hail for parts of Central. Gander saw some hail today. Christy shared that photo with me on my Facebook page, and there was lots of lightning with this as well. As you can see through Central, we saw those clouds started nearly cloud-free today, and then we saw those clouds develop this afternoon, bringing lots of lightning with that. Now, those are going to move offshore over the next couple of hours, but temperatures today, absolutely gorgeous. 25 degrees in Badger, 24 in Gander before that rain moved through, and then across Labrador still sitting in the teens. Temperatures now still sitting there, still a pretty nice evening. We're looking at a quiet day tomorrow and then rain as we head into Friday, but I'll get into those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, as part of the ongoing talks with Indigenous leaders, the province may change the description of the coat of arms. Back in 2018, Dwight Ball's Liberals pledged to redesign the 400-year-old image, which depicts 2 Indigenous warriors holding a red shield. That redesign never happened. Premier Andrew Furey isn't taking the discussion that far, but his office says the Premier is talking about changing the language around that symbol. The official description of the province's coat of arms refers to the 2 Beothuk figures as savages.
There's a memorial in Corner Brook in reaction to the story unfolding in Kamloops, British Columbia. People have placed children's shoes at the newly created garden in the city for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. It's to honor the memory of the human remains of those 250 children at the Kamloops Residential School. Vigils like these have been popping up throughout the province as a way for people to pay their respects. Now, this garden in Corner Brook is new. It's called the Migwi Daydum Garden, set up outside of the Halibu offices. The official grand opening is next week, but already it has become a place for people to pay respects and express their sadness. Well, earlier this week, we showed you the decorated fence of the Colonial Building in downtown St. John's. Margaret Cranford, along with her cousins, tied 215 felt flags to that fence to mourn the lives of the 215 children. She says the experience was heart-wrenching, but also healing.
My cousin, who's also Mi'kmaq, Sylvia Murphy, actually came up with the idea the night that we heard about the 215 babies, we call them children, being discovered. We couldn't sleep. The dreams were horrible. The next day, we said we have to do something. So we very quickly used what we had. We cut 215 pieces of felt, the color of what people refer to as the medicine wheel, we refer to as our sacred circle, to represent each of the 215 children. We came here to the Colonial Building to send a strong message. There's so many people throughout Newfoundland and Labrador that are connected to the residential schools, and yes, to the residential schools and missing and murdered women and girls. This affects everybody, not just the Indigenous. It's a human issue. I believe there's a gift in everything. Many of our people believe that, and this is a gift because this is revealing the truth of what our people have been saying for decades. The truth of the dark history of Canada, the genocide, the intended genocide that began back in 1867 and 10 years, called the Indian Act, and 10 years later it was called, it was a graduated enfranchisement. No, it was a disenfranchisement actually to our people. I want people to learn, I want the schools, I want it to be mandatory to teach the children coming up now the truth of history.
Well, meanwhile, Ottawa plans to spend millions to help Indigenous communities across Canada deal with the fallout from the residential school discovery in BC. Indigenous Services Minister Mark Miller says the communities will lead that process.
Present thoughts and actions with respect to what we've seen in the last week is to help the communities affected by the Kamloops Residential School, and I would note that there were dozens that had children taken to that particular school over the course of close to a century.
Around $27 million remains from the 2019 budget. That money was meant to help Indigenous communities investigate and commemorate children lost to the residential school system. The Indigenous Services Department is also looking at ways to deploy healing and health services to help communities cope. The United Nations is calling on Canada to conduct an exhaustive investigation to find Indigenous children who died in residential schools.
Well, now to some other news. The Registered Nurses Union has launched a new media campaign in an effort to highlight the challenges that nurses in this province are facing.
We continue to provide services, but at what cost?
The head of the union says nurses are working 24-hour shifts. They're exhausted, frustrated, and sacrificing their personal lives to try to meet work demands. The campaign is called More Than an RN, Less Than Enough. And the union says staffing shortages and unfair working conditions don't just hurt nurses, they hurt the entire healthcare system. It says nurses shouldn't be expected to stay in a profession that relies on overtime and understaffing.
When we talk about lack of primary health care, that is the beginning to me of every problem that we have with all of our health outcomes, because without an access to a primary health care provider, you have no choice as a patient but to fall back to hospital care, emergency rooms, when people are going to emergency rooms to get their prescriptions refilled because they have no other option. That's because there's really no access to primary health care.
The RNC closed off part of downtown St. John's today after receiving reports of a suspicious package. Police blocked off the area around the Sir Humphrey Gilbert building in downtown St. John's. That area is now open to traffic. We don't know what was in the suspicious package, but it has been removed and the investigation is continuing. News articles in Quebec and national media are calling on Newfoundland and Labrador to strike a deal with Hydro-Quebec to address this province's dire financial situation. And today at the House of Assembly, NDP and PC leaders raised concerns, saying the government is holding secret talks with Quebec's hydro company. Here in Now's Mark Quinn reports.
The articles say Newfoundland and Labrador's financial trouble is an opportunity for Quebec to secure access to cheap power well into the future. They suggest Hydro-Quebec may even get cheap Labrador power well beyond 2041, when the lopsided Churchill Falls power deal expires. Today, the opposition asked if the province is in fact negotiating with Hydro-Quebec.
Will any new arrangements on rate mitigation for this province involve Quebec or Hydro-Quebec?
The Honourable the Premier.
As we suggested, Mr. Speaker, right now the active discussions, the active negotiations are between Newfoundland and Labrador and the federal government, Mr. Speaker.
Speaking outside the House of Assembly, Fury addressed the suggestion that Newfoundland and Labrador might sell power to Quebec at a higher rate now in exchange for a lower rate after 2041.
I mean, that's speculation. I've not had those conversations with Hydro-Quebec, and there are no active discussions with Hydro-Quebec, period. So, we might as well be talking about unicorns because there's none of those either, and there's no active discussions right now.
Still, the Progressive Conservatives have questions.
Is everything hinging on what we give away on some of the other hydroelectric potential contracts? Where is Gull Island? Is that part of it? What will we do on the global market now, or the North American market, if we partner with Hydro-Quebec?
And the NDP says the government isn't being transparent about rate mitigation negotiations, a process party leader Alison Coffin says is taking too long.
We've been promised rate mitigation since last February. The best we've got right now is a rate mitigation team who's tying that rate mitigation to the, and I quote the Premier, the monetization of our hydro assets. And somehow he says that we're being clear about the potential of this monetization. Monetizing an asset means selling an asset. So I think we need to be a little bit more clear about what exactly is happening.
Fury says he won't be pressured into making a quick deal. He has committed to keeping the cost of electricity to 13.5 cents per kilowatt hour for ratepayers, and he expects a rate mitigation arrangement will be announced by late fall. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Newfoundland and Labrador plans to open to the rest of Canada on Canada Day, but what could derail those plans? I'll talk to the Health Minister coming up.
What a beautiful evening it is as we look over the harbor here in St. John's. We do have some thunderstorms on the go, but it looks like a gorgeous evening. If you're not barbecuing already, you should be.
This weather update is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. It's time to explore the great wide open. Plan your trip at yourbackyardbeckons.ca.
Ashley's here now to look at the forecast, and what a stunning day in St. John's. Lots of sunshine, really warm, gorgeous.
It was beautiful. That wind too felt really nice this afternoon. But yeah, a nearly cloudless day to start across the province, and then we saw a little bit of thunderstorm activity develop this afternoon. Let's take a look at the systems on the go. We do have an area of low pressure offshore, but yeah, not a whole lot happening as far as weather goes, but those clouds, cumulus clouds or towering cumulus clouds developed, and we saw lots of thunder and lightning as well as some hail reported for parts of central. Not a whole lot happening across Labrador either. A few showers rolling through, but that's pretty much the only thing that will be the story as we head through the next couple of days. And the temperatures today were beautiful as well. Into the 20s through central, 24, 25 degrees. Corner Brook sitting at 21 this afternoon. A little cooler on that in the south coast just because we're in that onshore flow. And then across Labrador, you're looking at temperatures between 14 to 16 degrees from the west through to central, and a little cooler along the coast. Your temperature's still sitting there right now, 8 to 9 degrees, a little cooler for the north, but a gorgeous evening. 20 degrees right now in St. John's. Temperatures tonight not really going to move too much. We should stay in the double digits as we head through the overnight tonight. Looking at the satellite isn't doing a very good job at this, but we did see lots of thunder and lightning earlier today. There's a look at those cells there. I'll take that off, and then you can see where the remainder of those cells are. They're working their way offshore and will continue to do so over the next hour or so. By 8, 9, 10 o'clock, we should see the majority of that work itself offshore, and it will be a beautiful evening. However, along the south coast, we're in that onshore flow. You'll likely see some fog patches develop through the overnight. A few clouds in the mix across Labrador, but nothing other than that really. You'll see some showers towards the early morning hours for Lab West. As far as temperatures go tonight, there you go, double digits, like I said, in St. John's, going down to 11 degrees. The winds are going to stay breezy, though, out of the southwest or west, anywhere from 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. Once we see that potential for thunderstorms or move offshore, we should see a beautiful evening tonight, 7 to 9 degrees through central, and then for a little bit cooler for the southwest and the northern peninsula. Labrador, you should be hovering anywhere from 0 to 2 degrees as your overnight lows. Now tomorrow, not a whole lot to talk about. We're going to see a ridge of high pressure dominate the weather for the most part. However, across Labrador, be a little bit more unsettled. You'll see a few pop-up isolated showers through the afternoon, maybe a few rumbles of thunder with this as well. Likely not going to get too organized, but we could see that risk for sure. And then as we head through the day, you'll see those showers move further east towards the coast. And then for the island, we're going to start to see some increasing cloud through the day. That's ahead of our next weather maker that's going to bring some rain as we head through the overnight and into the first half of Friday, as you can see there. As far as temperatures go tomorrow, it's going to be lovely. Another beautiful day in the 20s for eastern areas of the island, anywhere from 20 to 24 degrees. Those winds, a lovely southwest breeze, anywhere from 20 to 40 kilometers per hour with these temperatures. That's going to feel beautiful tomorrow afternoon. As you head towards central, a little bit more sun and cloud in play, but again, 23, 24 degrees is the daytime high. Some areas could reach a degree more than that. And then as we head towards the west coast, same thing. A little cooler though for the south coast, and those, when you're near the coast, you'll see your temperatures more in the teens, mid to high teens as your afternoon highs. And again, southwest winds for you along the west coast as well. Northern peninsula into the high teens or mid teens through tomorrow. Same thing for the southwest. Beautiful afternoon in the Big Land, 19 degrees in Cartwright with some light winds, 20 kilometers per hour. And then as you head towards the west coast, western portion rather of Labrador, you're going to see that potential for showers. And again, that will work its way across. Unfortunately, only going to stay into the single digits across Nain through the day tomorrow, 7 degrees. But these temperatures are going to warm up as we head through the weekend, looking like a pretty nice weekend. I'll get into all those details when I come back.
Newfoundland and Labrador now plans to open up to the rest of Canada on July 1st. This comes with lots of conditions, so how's this all going to work? Well, John Haggie is the Minister of Health. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
So right now we're dealing with 2 outbreaks, one in Central, one on the West Coast. What makes you think in a month's time we're going to be in a good enough situation that we can allow people from the rest of Canada in without isolation?
This plan is flexible, it's contingent, but it also acknowledges the fact that each day our vaccine numbers improve. And with that, the protection of the people of the province in general improves. The central cluster seems to be static and maybe on the backside, as it were. The Western is a bit earlier in its evolution, and obviously we need to wait and see. But we're going to see these now on and off through into the fall for sure. We've seen that a localized, rapid, sharp response has dealt with them. It dealt with them in Harbour Breton Deer Lake, it dealt with them in Codroy, and it's working in Central.
So what sort of conditions would need to happen between now and then to derail this plan?
I think some of the considerations would be around case numbers. I think the other considerations would be around, was it a new variant of concern, and were there some suggestions about vaccine efficacy? Were we having challenges with demands on the healthcare system? What we've seen is that those people who have been vaccinated, who have acquired the virus partly vaccinated, have not been seriously ill. So those were things we would look at. And it's very difficult to describe every condition that would impact the decision, which is why it's going to require monitoring.
For the last year and a half or so, the approach in Newfoundland and Labrador has been to have no cases of COVID-19. You mentioned there that we're going to be seeing some well into the fall. So how difficult a transition do you think this is going to be for the province?
Well, I mean, we started that discussion in a very gentle way when we brought out our reopening plan last summer, because it was NL Life with COVID-19. But you're right, we have really been very keen on a containment and avoidance strategy. The game changer is vaccine. And it certainly seems to be the case that for pretty well all of the variants of concern that we have at the moment, the vaccine has a role to play. For some, it's completely protective, and for others, it simply guarantees you a mild version of the illness. We've not seen any cases hospitalized in that very vulnerable group, such as we did with the Calls cluster last year. Vaccines are the game changer.
So you're going to have to prove that you have 1 or 2 doses because the conditions are going to change. I know a lot of people right now are probably scrambling to find that sheet they were given when they were vaccinated. So what are people actually going to need in order to prove that they were vaccinated?
We're working with the federal government because the federal government have exactly the same conundrum. They have to figure out what is acceptable proof of vaccine for international travelers. Even if they don't adopt the idea of a vaccine passport as such, other countries have, and therefore Canadians have to have something with a government stamp on that would pass muster. So we don't want to be offside with them, because if you remember when we did the COVID Alert app, we had our own through Verifin, and that then had to be superseded and replaced by COVID Alert because of the way it was rolled out. So that's a work in progress. We do have electronic vaccine records, so we can supply individuals who've been vaccinated with material that can be used for a proof of vaccine. But what that will actually look like yet, we're not sure. Dr. Fitzgerald and her team have also been working with our IT folk to make the travel form have an uploadable kind of appendix where you could put whatever it is onto there.
I know you have family elsewhere in Canada that you've talked about not being able to go and visit. So what's your first trip when things open up?
I'm going to cause family trouble because I have 2 daughters, one in Ontario and one in BC. So I'm not going to declare which province I'm going to first, because if they find out on the television, I'm going to be in real trouble. But those are the 2 areas that I will be looking at.
Minister, thank you very much for joining us.
You're more than welcome.
There's the opportunity to be one team, leverage expertise,
Well, some 16 years after consolidation was first recommended, this province continues to operate 3 nursing schools. Now, this has caught the attention of 2 recent high-profile reports, and once again, big changes are being encouraged. Terry Roberts has this feature report.
This province has a reputation for graduating some of the best registered nurses in the country, about 250 every year. But the nurse education landscape here is also unique to anywhere else in Canada. Typically, the job of delivering post-secondary education is done by and in a post-secondary institution like Memorial University. Well, in this province, it's a little more complicated than that, and experts say it's time for that to change.
I actually think that this is very doable, and I think it should happen soon.
This is a typical setup. A hospital-like setting where nurses are trained, run by Memorial University's Faculty of Nursing in St. John's, attached to the Health Sciences Centre, run by this woman.
We are in our Student Learning Resource Centre in the Faculty of Nursing.
Then there's this place, the Centre for Nursing Studies at the Miller Centre, also in St. John's, the province's largest nursing school. And finally, the Western School of Nursing in Corner Brook, a school with a half-century of history, but with an uncertain future because there are questions about where it will move once Western Memorial Hospital, its current home, closes in a few years. So what's unique? Well, the Centre for Nursing Studies here at the Miller Centre is run by Eastern Health. The Corner Brook Nursing School, that's run by Western Health. All the faculty and staff are employees of their respective health boards. Nowhere else in Canada will you find a health board whose primary mandate is the delivery of health care running a degree-granting nursing school. The curriculum is standard at all 3 schools, approved by the College of Registered Nurses. All those in training are Memorial University students working towards a Memorial nursing degree. But only one school is run by the university. While it's a complex arrangement, it's been working just fine.
We know how to make things work, and that, the success of our programs is second to none.
But this recent report, calling for a big reset across the government, is recommending the nursing schools be consolidated to reduce operational costs, increase efficiency, and standardize quality. And this recent review of post-secondary education wants to see all nurse training under the governance and administration of Memorial University. It's a move the College of Registered Nurses supports.
But it is the opportunity to be one team, leverage expertise. There's opportunities for more research work, for more of the innovation. Some of the services that's offered at Memorial Campus, are second to none. So being one team has the opportunity to increase, access to everybody. And that's why we've been on record for 16 years saying that this is the right thing.
And here at Memorial, the Dean of Nursing says, let's get on with it.
It's a sensible thing. It's the way forward. It's a small province, and it makes sense to have one Faculty of Nursing with 2 sites.
In an earlier era, most nursing training was hospital-based. At one time, there were 5 nursing schools in the province. But more than 2 decades ago, it became mandatory that nurses have a university degree. Despite this change, 2 hospital-based schools continued to operate independently of the university. So what's the benefit of consolidation? Supporters say a single faculty would allow for greater flexibility when it comes to deploying educators. And
we feel it's much more advantageous for the students at both the Centre for Nursing Studies and Western Regional School of Nursing to be at either the St. John's campus or the Grenfell campus and have the same ease of accessing different resources for students as the other Memorial University of Nursing students have.
so what's the holdup? Well, money is an issue. There's not enough space here at MUN to accommodate all the nursing students in St. John's. And for this vision to work, a new building is required right here on campus. But amid our financial crisis, that's not about to happen anytime soon. But Alice Godine says that's not a showstopper.
The consolidation of the schools does not require in the first instance that everybody come to campus. So we could be all part of the same faculty, the same organization, employed by the same employer, but as long as Eastern Health is willing to let the Centre for Nursing Studies students remain in the Miller Centre, we could still function as one faculty.
There are also multiple collective agreements, different unions, pensions, and sick leave plans, likely costing millions to merge.
But ultimately, it will bring, you know, more opportunities and more efficiencies once we're on the other side of the curb.
As for the Corner Brook School, Western Health is exploring its options when it comes to a new home. One of those options, leasing space.
What's government saying about all this? Well, not much. With public consultations now underway following the release of the Green Report, the health and education departments say it will be too early to comment on the future of our 3 nursing schools. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
For more than 20 years, the Sharing Our Cultures school program has celebrated voices and cultures in the province, working with students to help them develop new skills and learn the value of multiculturalism.
Loideta Cueco has been at the heart of the program from the very beginning, and she's also helped immigrants, refugees, and other newcomers feel at home in this province. Well, tonight in our Being Black in NL series, our contributor Ife Alaba speaks with Loideta.
Hello, I'm Ife Alaba, and this is Being Black in NL. Today I'm going to be talking to Loideta Cueco, founder of Sharing Our Cultures, and so much more.
I'm Loideta Cueco. I'm originally from Sierra Leone in West Africa. I was born in Freetown. And the founder and CEO of Sharing Our Cultures Incorporated, which is an organization that engages school children and youth in activities that enhance their employability skills, sociocultural skills, help them to develop friendships as well. So we meet them on a regular, it's a program that they participate in, and at the end of the program they get an opportunity to share their cultures with the public and school children, elementary school children, right here in the rooms actually. That's where we all do. Back in 1998-99, I decided to conduct a study of the psychosocial needs of new immigrant and refugee school children. And during that study, I interviewed a number of students, grades 4 to 12, and they mentioned several times that they were being either bullied at school or experienced racism. I brought together some students from high schools and local as well as newcomer students, and I wanted them to come together to find ways in which they can help students who are new to the province integrate into their school system. So that's sort of how it started 21 years ago.
I remember you talked at a conference a few years ago, and I was there, and you were talking about your experiences when you first got to St. John's. Was there a cultural shock for you?
Well, when I arrived in St. John's, then I was already living in Toronto, so it was very culturally diverse. We had lots of friends from Africa. And when I arrived here, of course, that was the first thing. There were hardly any people from Africa around. In fact, if I was driving and I saw someone, I thought, oh no, that person maybe, I'll park the car and run across and say, hello, I'm here. And that's changed a bit now, because more people, I think with the students working outside of campus and the community, you see a lot more people. More people have migrated into the province as well. So
you wear so many hats, and I assume that your main goal is just better living for immigrants and just to make people's lives better. What are you doing to make sure that the transition for people that are from other places, from other countries, easier in this province?
So it's helping people really feel that the sense of place and a sense of belonging, because you can live in a place and never feel that you're part of it.
Definitely.
So that's been my main goal wherever I am, and if I meet someone and they're facing certain challenges, whether it's trying to get their PR or trying to get their children into school or getting some resources for them, I always feel in my heart that I need to help them overcome that challenge, and help them make the necessary connections they need to live here harmoniously, peacefully, and to be happy in the place that they actually want to stay.
Why do you feel like immigrant integration is so important?
Well, it's important for several reasons. One, if you are living in any part of the world and you don't feel that you are integrated into that society, you become an outsider. You become socially isolated from the community, and that's not healthy. Also, I think it's important, if people are going to stay in this province, if they're going to decide to make this their home, they need to feel that they are part of it as well. So that's another reason why it's important. And a third reason is that many people who come here are very talented, highly educated. They can be a great resource for the province. They bring skills that the province may not have, or they have shortage of skills. They bring in the resources, obviously, if they're here, whether they're professors at MAN or they're working for the healthcare system or they're engineers, they're still contributing to the economy of the society. So I feel that it is important for them to integrate and feel a part of it, because they are already living here. They are physically. So I think emotionally and socio-culturally as well, they should be able to feel a part of the community that they live in.
What improvements would you like to see the province of Newfoundland and Labrador make for it to be more inclusive, for it to be a more inclusive place for newcomers?
I think creating more awareness in the community of the value of immigrants to the province, I think is key. We still have to dispel the myth that immigrants are here to take local jobs. Yes. We have to do some work around that. I've often said maybe we need a media campaign and to showcase all the work and that newcomers or immigrants or refugees to this province and their contributions to the economic, as well as the social and cultural aspects of the province.
You have so much on the go. You always have something going on, and you do not seem to be stopping anytime soon. No. Where do you see yourself in the future?
Doing a lot of what I'm doing. Because until I can get everyone, well, we put out a poster contest for grades 4 to 12, and the messaging was, what can they do? They could create a poster and a message to end racism. Yeah. And I won't stop, I think, until we get to that point where someone could be seen for, everyone. We can all be seen for who we are. And not labeled because of the color of our skin or because of the way we speak or where we come from. And I think until we get there, I'll still be at it.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Being Black in NL, and watch out for more.
There are some big ideas growing right here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
We were going to help people who are not growing things at home and maybe don't have the means to grow them.
CBCNL and the Food Producers Forum have teamed up to bring you a brand new series about the local food movement.
The way it was told to us, there was a gentleman growing it here in Newfoundland. For some reason, the garlic he had got shipped out to British Columbia. We're trying to develop that variety of garlic.
Those diggers, those dreamers and innovators who are building healthy food communities right here at home.
We feel like we are custodians of this special Newfoundland tall variety.
Catch from the ground up on Here and Now, CBC Radio, and online. Well, Ashley's here with a look at the long-range forecast, but before we get to that, Ashley, we were talking about all the beautiful weather here today on the Avalon. Kind of warm enough for some outdoor swimming in a pool, perhaps, but just have a look at this. Here's a new pool that could make some people maybe freeze with fear. How are you with heights, Ashley?
I'm okay.
Okay, I'm not.
Okay.
Look at that.
Oh, no, that would be right. I would love that.
Really?
Yeah.
That would make me kind of nervous. Yeah, that brings a whole new meaning to skydiving. A suspended transparent pool has just opened in London, England, believed to be the first of its kind. It's part of a luxury property where swimmers get full views of the London skyline, and it's 10 stories up. Wow, from the ground. What a view.
10 stories, not too bad. I think that's absolutely incredible. I would be booking a trip there if I could right now, but certainly can't. The weather tomorrow, though, going to be very beautiful for pools, not so much as we head through Friday. We're going to see that potential for some much needed rain. We've been talking about the lack of rain through May and the first part of June, starting pretty dry as well. But as we head into Friday, we are going to see some showers roll through. Cold front's going to move through as well. It's going to cool things down through the day on Friday, but we're going to get right back into that warm temperature as we head into Saturday. Maybe a few lingering showers on Saturday morning. That should clear out quite nicely as well. And then as we get into Sunday, we're going to see another quick low move through, and that's going to bring the chance of some showers again through the afternoon. By the time we get into Monday, another quiet day. Next weather maker will move in for midweek. Taking a look at the temperatures on Friday, so a little bit of a dip. We've been seeing these 20, 25 degree temperatures back down to the teens. This is still well above where we should be sitting this time of year. 18, 19 degrees from the Avalon through to Central, a little cooler again along that south coast, just as we see some onshore flow. And then for Labrador, still into the 20s through central portions, but the north hanging on to those cooler temperatures, 7 degrees through Nain, Lab City sitting at 13. Not going to be a totally gray day for you. You're still going to see a little bit of sunshine through the afternoon on Friday. And then into Saturday, back to those temperatures, back to the 20 degrees. It looks like we could see even a degree or two warmer in some areas, but a beautiful afternoon. Again, that slight chance of showers in play as well. And then for Labrador, you're looking at a similar temperature again through Nain into those single digits, but the rest of the big land looking at temperatures into the teens to start off the weekend. After that, we look at the temperatures for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland, anywhere from 18 to 20 degrees as we get into next week. A little bit more sun and cloud as we head through Monday. And overnight lows into the double digits as well. For central Newfoundland, you're looking at some sunshine on Saturday, but then back to those unsettled conditions Sunday and Monday, but temperatures into the 20s for the weekend. As far as western Newfoundland goes, plenty of cloud cover for both Sunday and Monday, and temperatures into the 18 to 19 degree mark, but again, some much needed rain certainly on the way. For eastern Labrador, sunshine for Sunday into Monday, back to that unsettled conditions, but temperatures in the teens through the weekend. And then for western Labrador, daytime highs looking fairly nice, but overnight lows will dip into the single digits both Friday and Saturday night and return to the double digits on Sunday. I wanted to share this photo. Beautiful sunset in Makovic. Wow. Thank you to Kathy Ford for that. Any photos? Send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Very nice. So
Stunning.
much orange and
Yeah, beautiful sunset.
Nice
there.
shot of Makovic. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you very much.
So a little bit of rain in the forecast is great for those anglers out there.
That's
and
right.
other than
And
that,
gardeners.
Pretty good. That's true. It's true. Don't want to leave the bees out of it. So, Ashley, I know you're taking a little bit of much-deserved time off now. I saw a little student boy with some shorts as your pupil.
Yes.
Was that Jeremy Eaton?
Yeah, Jeremy Eaton's going to take over for me for the remainder of this week and into next week.
Oh.
So that should be lots of fun.
What kind of student was he?
It's good.
Really?
He's got lots to learn. This isn't an easy job.
It's not. No, I can vouch for that,
Yeah.
for sure. So Jeremy's going to be here tomorrow, filling in for you for the rest of the week. So that should be fun to have him on board. How has the training been going?
It's been going good, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, yeah, he'll be great.
All right.
He'll be fine.
All right, can't wait.
Yes, for sure. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. And be sure to tune in tomorrow night for Jeremy's first forecast.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure. No pressure at all.
No pressure. You should come into the shot. You should come into the shot.